padre fallece, me quedo sin recursos. Y luego mi madre se pone enferma y después por circunstancias con mi pareja, que no nos llevamos bien o por lo que fuera, nos separamos. Pero él deja de pasarme lo que es la manutención de los niños. Pues antes no podía pagar nada, factura ni nada, estaba siempre sin dinero, no podía darle de comer a mis hijos, tenía que ir a pedir.
Me sentía agobiada ya que no podía dormir bien, porque no cubría mis gastos, no tenía trabajo. Tengo un niño pequeño chico, tengo un niño chico que necesita comer y no pagaba y no me llegaba a final de mes para los alimentos, para pagar el alquiler, la luz, el agua.
When people have nothing to live, when they cannot pay the rent, when they cannot pay the food for their children, when they receive the minimum income, they can face the difficulties that they have in their lives, and they can look for a job, look for training, look for a house, try to live included in the society, in the community.
Me está permitiendo mantener mi casa, darle de comer a mis hijos y pagar mis facturas. Y con ello, pues como no tengo empleo, me estoy sacando el curso de limpieza de grandes superficies, que me ayudará a salir adelante también.
El ingreso mínimo vital me ha ayudado a dormir más tranquila, ya que me ayuda a cubrir todos los gastos necesarios de mi hijo y mío. Y me ha ayudado también a ejercer un curso de formación que yo no me lo hubiera planteado antes.
We need a directive on minimum income because it's a legally binding instrument, and yet that is the way to ensure this right to all the people in need in Europe. What kind of society do we want to be? How do we want our governments, the European Union, to respond to those situations?
Hello everyone, welcome. My name is Eva Reina, I'm Policy and Advocacy Director at Caritas Europa, and I'm going to be also moderating this event. We are going to launch the latest Caritas Europa report called Thriving, Not Just Surviving, Shaping Effective Minimum Income Systems in Europe. We are very sorry that you couldn't see the subtitles of this video. We had a little technical issue, but basically there are two ladies who explain actually about their experiences accessing minimum income systems and how that helped them actually to build up their lives and to be able to progress and to be able to have a better circumstances at home, to have a better living for their children. So this is what we're going to talk about today here, about minimum income systems. But before we start delving into the report, I would like to give the floor to Maria Niemann, who is our Secretary General of Caritas Europa.
Thank you, Eva. Thank you. Thank you, Eva. And good afternoon to all of you, colleagues and friends. It's a pleasure to open this event today on behalf of Caritas Europa. I'm indeed Maria Niemann, Secretary General of Caritas Europa. And Caritas, most of you will know us quite well, but we are a network. Caritas Europa is a network of 49 member organizations in 46 countries, but we are also part of the wider Caritas Internationalis, the global confederation of Catholic charity organizations across the world, present in 200 countries, close to 200 countries when it comes to projects, but 162 countries when it comes to national offices. And we are a confederation, I mentioned that, but we are united in one same mission, which is to fight poverty and social exclusion, to promote social justice, and to work towards a society where, as Anna mentioned on the video, where every person can truly live in dignity. And every day, our member organizations and through their services work alongside, walk with the people in situations of vulnerability, providing support, services, but also listening, learning, and trying to amplify their voices and bring them up to fora like this one, to make sure that the voice of the people in the most vulnerable situations can be heard and also responded to. So that's why we are gathering here today to launch our new Caritas CARES poverty report, which is one in a series of reports. We publish generally one every 2 years. And each edition focus on a key issue that is emerging and becoming very clear from the work that our members are doing every day with the people experiencing poverty, where we see that this issue needs to be addressed, and addressed also at the European level and at national level, in order to properly tackle the issues of poverty and exclusion that so many people face. We saw the numbers on the screen. Close to 95 million people across the European Union. Today, this is 1 in 5. So today this edition of the report, we address a topic that really strikes at the very heart of the fight against poverty, the need for adequate minimum systems across Europe. There has been progress. Obviously, there has been progress over the years. There have been policy commitments, but we still see that the numbers are what they are, still close to 1 in 5, or around 1 in 5 actually in Europe, that is at risk of poverty or living in situations of poverty. We know that these are not just numbers. It's about people, it's about families, it's about children, older people, migrant people, people with disabilities, all facing barriers to live a life in dignity. And as Caritas Europa, we believe, and I think that all of us in this room believe, that poverty is not a fatality. It can be addressed. So with the right political will, with the right policy choices, it can be tackled, and it must be tackled. So as Caritas, we work, you have understood that we work with the people in the most vulnerable situations, really in kind of a place of deep connection with the communities that we are serving. And our approach is following the Siege Judge Act methodology, meaning that we see the daily realities of the people. Our members see the daily realities of the people in their work, and then we analyze those situations, those lived experiences of the people facing poverty and exclusion through the lens of human dignity and social justice, and try to act and try to see, so what does this mean in terms of the policy response to that, and obviously also our own response as Caritas to that, at the national level, at the European level, and also at the local level. And through that lens and through that analysis, it has been clear for many years that adequate minimum income schemes are really an essential building block for a just society, for an inclusive society, ensuring that people don't just survive, as also the title of our report, but also having the possibility of thinking of the future, of planning for the future, of thinking of a hopeful future for themselves and for their families. So despite all the commitments and the progress that have been made, we still see that reality often falls far short from this objective. And I often hear, and I'm sure many of you hear, that when we speak about minimum income systems, we kind of been responding, oh, but we do have those in our country. We do have minimum income systems. And that might be true in a kind of technical sense, but the real question there is, so these systems, do they truly protect people from living in poverty? And there, the answer is quite often no. We are not yet there, and that's why we are here today, because we need to address these remaining barriers. So we see that minimum income systems are inadequate, often in level. They are also too restrictive in access. They can be too bureaucratic in terms of design. They can be conditional, conditions that undermine people's rights in practice. There was the Council recommendation adopted also in January 2023, which is a great step in the right direction. but we still see that progress remains slow and also uneven across member states. So there is a gap that needs to be filled. So the good news is that there are solutions, obviously, and that's why we're here today also to present our new report. You have probably received in the entrance also the executive summary of that report, and the full report is available online. So we will present this report today. We will look at minimum income systems across Europe, also track a bit of the progress since the Council recommendation, and also outlining, importantly, some good practices and some promising practices, but also some persisting shortcomings. You will hear examples from a number of countries, from our member organizations working on the ground. They will present the realities of what they see. And it's important to note that our report is not only a critique of the current system, it's also that, but it's more than anything, it's a call for action based on the real-life experiences of so many people that we meet and serve as Caritas across Europe. And as also was mentioned in the video as well, we are also convinced that the non-binding guidelines are not enough. If we are really serious about eradicating poverty, then we must move towards binding measures to guarantee adequate, accessible, and enabling minimum income schemes for all people that need them. So we hope that our report will be a meaningful contribution to the policy reflections that are really ongoing as we speak, both at the European level, and also we hope that they will be meaningful also for the national level. And as we look ahead, we are really excited about the upcoming EU anti-poverty strategy, where we really urge policymakers, some of them in this room, to put the human dignity front and center in all of the decisions you do. In leading up to the adoption of the EU anti-poverty strategy, and also as we're implementing it. It's the starting point of any strategy on anti-poverty worth its name. It's the starting point, and it's also the end objective, like human dignity front and center. So, and in order to reach that, it's really important also, and we will stress that today and show that today, importance of working with the people experiencing poverty. So we're really happy also that this will be part of your consultations to work with us and with the people most affected. And we're happy to be part of that. So let today be a moment of joint reflection and also of renewed commitment. That's what we hope of this moment today. I look forward to discussions, the presentations, to hear from all of you, because all of us and all of our different voices will be really essential in order to come to a situation where we do have minimum income systems that help people to thrive and not just survive. So thanks a lot, and back to you, Eva.
Thank you, Maria. So now it's time to learn more about the findings and the recommendations of our report. I would like to stress that this report has been brought together, bringing the knowledge and experience, as Maria said, of the Caritas organization, really like very rooted in the ground. So we have many different Caritas in different countries that contributed, and we combine that field expertise and knowledge with research expertise from the Institute for European Policymaking at Bocconi University. And I would like to invite Pietro Galeone, who has been the researcher at Bocconi University, coordinating an interdisciplinary team of colleagues working together, from researchers from Bocconi University, but also from Sapienza University, to make this report possible and to bring the value of research actually to the findings that we brought from the field. So thank you, Pietro. The floor is yours.
Thank you so much. How will it work logistically? Is there, magic of technology? No, sorry for what? Thank you. Okay, so it's all in the same presentation. Voila, perfect. So it's a pleasure to be here, and thank you so much for the kind introduction, but also to Eva, Peter, who is, I don't know if he's still at the entrance or if he's moved here in the meantime. Oh, there he is. for all the interesting discussions, and to all the member organizations that participated. Because the first thing that we should say is that as many, you said 49 members in 46 countries. Yeah. Exactly. So 49 members are part of Caritas. We had reports from 20 member organizations, and so potentially would be very interesting to further the analysis. But I would first of all like to thank some of them, I've seen them today, all the representatives from the member organizations that took the time to share their knowledge and what they see on the field, because as economists, it's, we pretend that we know the world by looking at it through the data, the aggregate data, the national data, but a lot of the times what really happens in reality is seen by those who live those realities, who do the work, like people in Caritas. And so we're very happy that all of the information that was shared could help us put together, as was said before, the aggregate national data that we have with the lived experiences of the individuals that Caritas interacts with. And as I'm saying this, I'm noticing that it's very tiny, and I am very sorry about this. But anyways, the report, you know it, and you can read it. I would really like to mention my colleagues. So as was said, we have two colleagues from Sapienza University, is Massimo Aprea and Michele Raitano, who do great work on minimum income. They have already worked with the European Commission on previous editions of reports on minimum income schemes. And then from Bocconi University, Michela Braga and myself. And we, as already said, we tried to combine national data with an existing academic work, of course, trying to update with the most recent data, merging it with the information that was given to us by the surveys. And when we approach this, there's always the fear that, we know something from the national data, but maybe the policy officers or the people working with Caritas on the ground, maybe they will give us different perspectives. But it was very interesting to see how the perspective in reality matches the national aggregate data. So I think it went very well as a multidisciplinary and multi-method. So both interview analysis and data analysis from national institutions and institutional data. Those two went hand in hand together. And okay, so I can skip it, and of course it's a hint that we're here because we need, and of course I'm looking at Caterina, we need, the results, as you all can imagine, are that we need more integration at the European level, because there are huge differences, and we'll get to see them. So I'll try to be on time. I'll destroy the stereotype that Italians are always late, and so I'll try to finish on time. And you all know what minimum income schemes are, so I'll go very quickly through this. They have a purpose of functioning as a safety net. So the goal is that they should not be tied to any individual circumstance other than income. So anyone, whether they're working or not working, whether they are from a family that is made up of multiple people, or it's a single income family, it's a multiple income family, anyone should be able to access minimum income with the stated goal of lifting as many people as possible out of poverty. But that raises the question, what is poverty? In this report, as is done often, we take 60% of the median income, and we say that an anti-poverty strategy is effective when it's able to lift people out above this threshold. So anyone who's below this threshold should at least make 60% of the median income. And so that is the target that we have. It has a non-contributory nature. So it's not like pensions, where I put something away and then I get it in return, but it's an idea that life is like a lottery. Some people are lucky, some people are unlucky, but it doesn't have to dictate your life, where the kind of family that you're raised into should not dictate the opportunities that you have, should not make you give up on training, job opportunities, because you have to provide for your family, you have to support your parents. I work on youth issues, and there's many instances of young people having to work, and this also emerged in the surveys from Caritas member organizations. A lot of the time young people have to give up on school, they have to drop out in order to find a quick job to support the family income. And I will skip this because I don't think it's particularly the whole European context and international context that you can find. What is relevant is the 2023 Council recommendation, which set forward the important pillars. So in this report, we don't really introduce any groundbreaking ideas. All the main components, so adequacy, I know it's very tiny, but you can see it. The fact that income support should be adequate, should be able to lift people out of poverty. It was a pillar of the 2023 recommendation. That it should focus on coverage. So anyone who is eligible should be able to access the scheme, the minimum income scheme, through simplified access. So sometimes people face significant barriers in accessing these benefits, and it should integrate well with other services. Of course, minimum income schemes are a last resort kind of instrument. There are many other social safety welfare instruments that allow individuals to get out of poverty by themselves, or at least get closer to that poverty line. And so this should be the last resort. So at any time that those other systems fail, people should not still be left to their own devices, but they should have minimum income as a last resort option that allows them to not live in poverty. And so these were the main pillars already in the Council recommendation. But what is the problem with that is that it was just a recommendation. And then we see how countries have responded to that. And I mean, me and most of the people from the team are from Italy, a country that has probably seen the most significant reform of its minimum income system. Unfortunately, the direction is exactly the opposite one as we would have wanted. So it's in reverse, reducing the size of the benefit, making it more stringent, therefore reducing coverage, and I won't go too much into detail on the Italian case, but it is, in my view, very exemplifying of how the recommendation sets out the good principles, but it doesn't really have the teeth to make it binding for countries to respect these principles and these pillars. So how do we? Okay, well, you will find this very nice table in the report, and it compares different countries. Just, I think you can hear me because the room is small enough, but the ones that I wanted to have you look at is this one. So the expenditure for each country as a percentage of GDP. We see that with the exception of Germany, no country goes above 1% of GDP spent on minimum income. So it's a very low expenditure. And if we see the beneficiaries as percentage of the population, we're also very often in the single digits. So it's, sorry, and I return to the microphone just in case it wasn't heard, but there is very few people are covered, and in many cases there is large heterogeneity across countries. But one might ask, isn't it good? So maybe this is a sign that all countries have a wealthy population and they don't really need this kind of last resort system. And we look at eligibility conditions, first of all, because that allows us to understand what is the target population that could benefit. So how many people actually fall below that threshold? And that gives us an idea of eligibility. And then we look at coverage and we say how many of these potential beneficiaries do actually get the benefit. And so many countries have, all countries, I would say, have residency requirements. So you have to either be a citizen or you can be a non-citizen but have to have lived in the country for a certain number of years. And this varies greatly across countries. Some countries require as little as 1 year of residency. Most countries have around 5. Some countries go up to 10. Then there are income and asset tests. So, of course, you might have low-income young people who come from very wealthy families and they have 2 homes. Those are not the people that we want to target with this scheme, because maybe they're not making an income because they don't have a job, but they're touring Polynesia on a sailboat. They're not really the people that we care about. So many countries have income and asset tests, and so it's a combination of both. However, the way you measure income and the way you measure assets matter, because a lot of the time family income varies based on the family requirements, vary based on where you live. I will again give the example of Italy. I live in a city, Milan, where a given amount of income is able to get you about half the amount of rent or food, or just in general an aggregate basket that measures the cost of living, compared to Bari, which is the city where my parents live. Okay, so regional differences within countries are one issue that we see in the aggregate data, and that many regional organizations from Caritas pointed out. And then there are age restrictions. Young people, who we know are, a few years ago, it was the European Year of Youth, so it's a target population also for European institutions, but we see young people suffering the most when it comes to poverty, and a lot of them are excluded from these tests. And we see age vary dramatically. It goes from 18 years of age in Belgium up to 28 years in Cyprus. And I think that is what I'm pointing at. Sorry, my vision is not perfect, but it goes to up. There are these huge gaps. So in Cyprus, people below 28 years of age cannot access the scheme, with very few exceptions. And so there are many differences. I mean, I won't go into them in detail, also because time is running out, and I promised I will be on time. But what is the key idea from this? That there is huge national variation. And living, as I was saying before, individual characteristics that are independent of an individual's choice should not matter as to whether you can be above or below the poverty income, the poverty line. And being born in a country that gives you, as a young individual, access to the tools to lift yourself out of poverty should not matter whether you're born in one country or another. So a European tool that would allow countries to have to respect certain requirements and certain age parameters would, of course, be very welcome in this regard. And I know I'm putting you in a very difficult position, because it's not like this is up to Caterina. It's not like she is the one who is going to have to choose this, but it's important for us to be speaking to the policymaker. Other than age, as I was saying, there are other populations that are very vulnerable and often excluded. Migrants and refugees are often excluded. There is a very important, I spoke of residency before, but this idea of residency is a huge institutional factor, because in Italy you can have permission to be in the country as a migrant but not have formal residency. Formal residency is when you go to your municipality and put in your legal residence in a household where you have a legal rent, where you pay legal rent. In many cases, there are black markets. Migrants stay with families, so a lot of the time their clock for the number of years of residence doesn't start from the year they arrive into the country. It starts from when they do this procedure, and this puts them at a disadvantage in terms of these requirements. Of course, as I was saying, only at the beginning, only 25% of countries changed their requirements following the recommendation, but some of them, many of them, in a more restrictive direction. So rather than expanding the measure, quite a bit of them actually changed them in a restrictive direction. And so, as I was saying, there is a large heterogeneity that goes from low performers to very high performers, and sadly, a lot of the times they are the usual suspects. We have Scandinavian countries with very high performance rates, but then again, see that none of them really reaches 100%. And you can see it in this table, where here 100 is the upper level, and that would be 60% of the median income. So any bar, these are the various countries, any bar that would be able to lift people past 100% would succeed in achieving an adequacy level of 100%. So getting people to that poverty line and above. All the countries are below the 100% line, and this is our data, and it's in line with other studies by colleagues that focus on a subset of countries. We focused on all the EU27 plus Norway, and in other studies focused on a smaller subset, but it's in line with them. And if you're wondering what the different colored lines are, they are different different household types, they're called. So different kinds of families, different individuals, single individuals, married with children, one children, two children. And so these are different simulations that can be run. And if you see them, so these are, this is how heterogeneity is not only across country, but also within country, depending on what kind of household you are. And so this is the pink line, which is the one that we have used to rank these countries. So you see the one, it goes from, sorry, I'll move here so it's easier to explain. So starting with the Netherlands, ranked as number 1, all the way to Romania, ranked as least. So number 1 means most benefits, to Romania, least adequate benefits. And as you can see, they're ranked according to a single household. But when we look at different households, which are these triangles and squares and rhomboids here, it becomes no longer a growing line, but there's a huge heterogeneity. So depending on which household we decide to rank it on, the ranking would change quite dramatically. So that means if you're a single person, then of course you're really doing well in the Netherlands as opposed to Germany. But if you are a single individual with 2 children, you're doing much better in Germany than you would be doing in the Netherlands. So this is not a universal, this is a huge problem in economics. It's always, what are we talking about? What are we measuring? And so with minimum income schemes, we are talking about radically different situations based on individuals' characteristics, but that is not the goal. The goal is to lift everyone, regardless of their individual characteristics, above the poverty line. So giving everyone, regardless of what family they are born into, they're raised into, or they happen to be living into, an equal fighting chance. So that is the idea. And what are the kind of barriers to access? So now we have found how many people actually could benefit, because there are these adequacy measures, there are sets of populations that can access. So anyone who fits those criteria, has those age parameters, has those residency parameters or citizenship parameters, can access the scheme. But then they could access it in theory, but do they access it in practice? And we see that there is a phenomenon called non-take-up of these benefits, which means that about 30 to 50% of potential beneficiaries do not actually receive the benefits, either because they apply and there are problems with their applications, or because they don't even know about it, or because they don't apply at all because they find it too cumbersome, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is where the reports were very interesting, because all we know from data is this parameter. 30 to 50% of potential beneficiaries don't actually receive it. But why is the question? And this report shed some very interesting light. And you can read it in the report. I would really not do it justice now, but oftentimes there are administrative complexities, many hoops that individuals have to go through to actually apply. Some of them don't even know they qualify for the scheme. A lot of the times there is stigma. So people say, well, if I have, to go and stand in line, especially in small municipalities, someone else might see me because I'm going to the municipality to apply for this benefit. And then what would other people think of me if word gets out that I'm on this benefit, that I'm poor, that I'm not able to support my kids on my own? There is this very sick idea of meritocracy, that you should, make it on your own, and that asking for help is a shame of some kind. And for many elderly individuals, there are digital barriers. For many migrant individuals, there are language barriers. And you can read about them, not on the slides because maybe it's too small, but if you get the slides, then you will be able to read it. But you can read it in the report. And for us, it was very enlightening. And the work that Caritas does, I think, because there are, and I'm short on time, other speakers from member organizations will talk about it, but there are many great, and here you have some examples, many great initiatives that Caritas organizations do and can do. They can learn from each other and export to other member countries in order to spread awareness, to reduce stigma, to help surpass these barriers. And ultimately, this leads to the policy recommendations that are a little bit less of our expertise. So my job here was to illustrate the current situation, the current failures, and what Caritas does and can do further to improve access to these benefits, what European institutions could do. But then the recommendations are really based on, for me, what I told you at the beginning, which is make the council recommendation more stringent. So the proposal for a directive, I'm not a lawyer, so I will not give you the legal basis, but that would really be the instrument that allows countries to have a coherent, to have a decent, to have a well-functioning system that removes barriers and allows all individuals, regardless of their personal history, to access this last resort scheme. And the idea would be to ensure those same pillars: adequacy, coverage, simplifying procedure, strengthening, of course, the integration across different countries, and finally, this is very crucial to us, increasing monitoring and data, because it was very hard for us in some cases to find data on certain countries and to compare it cross-nationally. So improving data collection and sharing would be great. And then in the report, you can also find some great country-specific recommendations, which of course I will not go into, but these can be useful also for Caritas member organizations to advocate in their own countries to actually change the national legislation on this topic. Okay, so sorry if I went 1 minute long, but I broke my own promise. But thank you for the patience.
Thank you very much, Pietro. It was really good to hear you. Just, I would like to maybe invite now our colleagues from the Caritas organizations to join. Would you like to either talk individually or would you like to sit? How is it? Okay, we can do it one by one then. I would like to ask maybe Tamara to start. Tamara Madiek, yes, is the Social Policy Officer at Caritas Austria. You have 5 minutes.
Okay, I will give my best. Thanks for the introduction. My name is Tamara Meineck. I work for the Caritas Austria, and I'm responsible for our advocacy work regarding poverty. Today, I will give you a little introduction about our minimum income support service on the basis of one family who we met in one of our social and counseling services. That is Family M. Who is it? It's a single parent, a single mother with 3 children in different ages, and she has a part-time income and she gets child support from the father of the children, and she has monthly housing costs of approximately 900 euros. This is important to keep in mind because all of these factors affect how much support the family will receive, because, as the title says, we have 9 different minimum income schemes in Austria. So, some little information on Austria. Family M lives in Austria, a country with a population of 9 million people and 9 federal states. And all of the states are having a lot of power in social matters. And that's why we have 9 different state laws regarding the minimum income schemes. So Austria has a well-developed welfare state. And to give you an idea of our financial scale, Austria spends only 0.44% of the total government spending on minimum income. So to sum up, Family M lives in a very small country, but one with 9 different laws. And even though we have a well-developed welfare state, Family M's story will show us where the system falls short. So have a look on the beneficiaries in general. Family M is one of about 200,000 people in Austria who rely on the minimum income support. And it's also have the same problem like before, it's a little bit small. But if you have a closer look on the numbers, you can see that the largest group of beneficiaries is actually children. Also, if we have a look on the numbers regarding the employment status, something important stands out with regard to Austria. Almost 2/3 of the people are too young, have health issues, take care for children or elderly, or have other reasons for not participating in the labor market. Or, to put it in other words, most of the beneficiaries are unable to participate in the labor market, even if government policies were to put on more pressure on them. So, for those people, the minimum income system in Austria is literally the last safety net they rely on. our current system has some good points, and I also want to mention them. So it offers it offers access to health insurance and to the public employment service. And also, we have, as I said, the 9 different laws, but this also offers the possibility for each federal state to give individual support to match local housing costs. But I have to admit, this is rarely used by the states. Yeah, the disadvantages. Because we have 9 federal states, we have 9 different laws, and these 9 different laws create big differences with regards to child beneficial rates, how the income is calculated, and even as to the definition of a single parent and who counts as a single parent is different in Austria. So as a result, people face unequal treatment and serious challenges. We have some more problems. So people with subsidiary protection status are mostly excluded. And also one key issue is that we had minimum rates, and they have been replaced with maximum limits with the last reform. And this is now a big problem when the prices rose in the last couple of years. So let's return to Family M. As I said, the different rules between the states have a huge impact on how much money the family gets. And we calculated the numbers for 6 federal states, as you can see on this slide. The result, for Family M, the difference can be over 1,000 euro each month, depending whether they live in Upper Austria or Vorarlberg. 2 states, I think if you go by train, it's a 1-hour ride. Yeah. So, to sum up, Austria has a minimum income system that helps around 200,000 people, but we have different rules and so big inequalities. To fix this, we propose a new basic income system that defines minimum standards instead of maximum limits, that doesn't deduct extra aid payments like housing benefits or donations, and that use same definitions for single parenthood and child benefits across all regions. And finally, we also advocate to expand the group of beneficiaries. But regardless of how the reform is designed, and this is my last slide, we believe there's one important question, and I think in the slides before we already, or in the presentations before, we also heard more or less the same question. But regardless how it's designed, we should ask ourselves, do we want a system that simply helps people to survive, or one that allows to live with dignity and truly participate in society? And I think me and also all of my colleagues here in the room, we believe in the second one. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Tamara. I would like to call Giulio Bertoluzza, who is from Caritas Italiana. He's a social policy officer. You have also 5 minutes. Please try to stick to it.
Okay, so first of all, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Giulio Bertoluzza from Caritas Italiana, and in these 5 minutes, I will try to stress and present something that was already in the first presentation about the change that occurred in Italian minimum income scheme in 2024. Actually, our minimum income scheme went, and this is the title, from universal to categorical with the reform. But let me start with a personal story, the story of Michele. So he's a young man that I know personally, born in 2002, who experienced a difficult childhood and adolescence, family problems, early alcoholism, psychological distress, and many other things. And his father died eventually. The mother left for a care home. And so he found himself alone, actually staying a lot of time at home by himself. and also he had to manage all the debts that he inherited from the father. And so his family was known by Caritas, and he was put in contact with social services, and eventually a social worker made for him a certificate of social disadvantage. And thanks to this certificate, he was allowed to access to the inclusion allowance, which is our minimum income in Italy today. He told me once, like, if I hadn't that certificate, I wouldn't have been able to apply at all. And why is that? Because since 2024, a reform replaced the citizenship income, our previous minimum income, with this inclusion allowance. And so being poor is no longer sufficient to be entitled for the minimum income in Italy. Only individuals belonging to specific categories can apply for minimum income. And in the next slide, I just compare the two. So with citizenship income from 2019 to 2023, there was a broad eligibility for many low-income households. And instead, with the inclusion allowance, we have this. We have that the eligibility is restricted to 4 categories, which are households with minors, households with disabled people, household with people over 60 years old in the family, and then people who are certified from social services as vulnerable. And this was an amendment that was introduced during the law process because at the beginning wasn't even one of the possibilities. And then of course we have many other criteria, as you see there, like residency, of course, means test, as all European minimum income schemes. And this is what happened. So this is a number of the absolute value of people who were households who were taking minimum income from 2019 up to 2024, and you can see that in the years before the inclusion allowance, we had so the citizenship income started in 2019, and we had the first year more than 1 million households asking for it and taking at least 1 month of minimum income. Then it grew, of course, also because of the pandemic effect and so on. But then between 2023 and 2024, we have a drop of 50% of the households who effectively received the minimum income in Italy. So we passed from 1,400,000 people to 7,500,000 people. And this big change is not occurring in a moment where poverty is decreasing in Italy. As you can see here, the incidence of absolute poverty in Italy, it's rising through the years, and it went from around 6% in 2014 to more than 8.4% in 2023. We don't have the data available yet for 2024. We're waiting for that. But in this situation of increasing poverty, we are reducing the help for the people. And so, yeah, the last slide here is this one. So the main point is that, of course, when access is limited to categories, many people fall through the cracks. And the inclusion allowance excluded many, while poverty persists. The case of Michele is somehow good because he managed to get in contact with social services and to be certified and to be allowed to take the minimum income. But this is just one case. Many other people are excluded, and plus the role of social services really changed in this situation, because they have now to certificate people, and they have to do it meeting some criteria, so it's not that easy also for them to certificate people. And so not everyone get that chance. Yeah, and the last point that we already said it a few times in the presentation, which is that despite the EU Council recommendation, And also many European countries moving in one direction. We are moving in a different path in Italy, making access more selective and restrictive. And yeah, that's the end. Thank you. Oh, yeah.
Thank you, Giulio. Thank you very much. And then last, I would like to ask Eva Kurinkova to come to also present the challenges in Czech Republic, from Caritas Czech Republic.
Thank you. I invite my colleague Jiří.
I'm Jiří.
I make advocacy work in Czech Republic, and Jiří is my analyst.
Yes, and I have just one slide because we have no time, only 5 minutes? 5 minutes probably. Okay, so I will be super quick and tell you something about methodology. We work with secondary data because of the nature of Caritas Poverty Report, which is designed like desk research. We obtained mostly data from Czech Statistical Office and PAC Research Center, which are like most reliable data which we have. Unfortunately, as is the case of our Italian colleague, we also have data for 2023 because data for 2024 were not processed in this time when we were finishing our report. So the main message is that only a fraction or minority of people who is eligible to some type of social benefits is really receiving those benefits. As you can see, only 6% of all households were receiving some type of social benefit, but up to 29% were in 2023 eligible for some time of benefit. Regarding housing area, so housing benefit was receiving by 20% of eligible persons, and child benefits were receiving only by 25 of eligible households. Another two problems. We have social excluded area. People living there are entitled up to 50% of those people are entitled to some type of social benefit, but only, as I said, fraction of them is really receiving them. About 12% it was in 2023. And the last problem is real benefit of real values of those benefits, which were still under the real, not of course not nominal, but real value of those benefits in 2013. So you can see that inflation was quite powerful in this context. So now I will Eva finished our presentation.
Thank you, Jiří. So much people go to social services because now system not make good, and we are need change this system because we are like we make for people we not go to poverty. This system have these problems. It's little flexibilities. Late payments, it's the addressability, and it's really so much problems now. We make advocacy work be everything better, but government make a new reform, and this reform is not too good. So much people go to service in Czech Republic for consulting, but workers have not help because this social benefits not make good. we in Czechia a long time talking about what we make social benefits better, but this reform go from digitalization. It's good point, but it's 1 minute. Okay, but it's really so much point difficult. We are talking with Minister for Social Affairs, with workers for Social Minister, and to talking so much with journalists and in Parliament, Senate, and have still this problem. We have new reform, but this act start to make in October, but at this point it's so much complicated. We need change. Example for people who have debts, we need to be social benefits make better, because not can make change if have family, if have people, children have not go and make change. We have problems if need I'm sorry. If need be every
Maybe we can skip some slides and go to the end of presentation.
yes, this yes.
What are the main points?
We must so much help people if need help, because have not money for live, have not eating, have not housing in Czechia, and so much it's difficult. Last slide, it's about what we are like be change, but Peter talking, it's finish my presentation, and we are see every point. We need support for children. We need good social benefits for housing. We need be people have contract if go working on public service. We need really good support for and help for people in poverty, consulting and social work. It's so much point that we need to now change, but this reform we have really not good, and we waiting people will go to poverty so much. And next slide, it's only for you, because this we are like be principle from Europe level, be everything make good, not only in Czechia country, on every country Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Eva and Jiri, for your input. I'm sorry for the lack of time, but you will all receive the presentations. So, okay, so now we have been having insights from the research point of view, from social workers, from social services, bringing the voices of people experiencing poverty, and now it's time maybe to have a discussion with policymakers. And I would like to invite the honorable members of the European Parliament that came to be with us. So we have Katrin Lagensippen from the Greens, from Germany. She's the Vice Chair of the European Parliament Employment and Social Affairs Committee. She's also part of the Women's Rights and Gender Committee as a substitute. Please come. We will bring you here to the podium and have discussions with you. We'd also like to invite João Oliveira, who is from the left. He's from Portugal, and he's a member of the Committee on Employment and Social Affairs as well. And he's also a member of the Committee on Budgets, which I think it's also an important aspect to bring to the discussion. And then I would like to invite as well Idoia Mendia, who is from Spain. She's from the Socialists and Democrats. She's a member of the Employment and Social Affairs Committee as well. Welcome. Yes, please. be careful. And we have as well the European Commission, so Katerina Ivankovic-Kenisevic, Director for Social Rights and Inclusion in the Directorate General for Employment, Social Affairs and Inclusion of the European Commission. And of course, we also want to bring to the discussion the voice of civil society, and with us is Reka Tunogi, who is the Acting Secretary General of Social Platform. Welcome. Everyone is well seated. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much to all of you to come to our event and to get interest in our reports. Maybe I will first start with a question for the different colleagues representing the institution. So after what you heard, after reading the report, based on the challenges as well that have been raised, on the different recommendations, what strikes you the most, and what should be actually key priorities for the European Union to tackle these challenges that have been raised, to tackle poverty, and particularly because it's a very interesting context as well with the review of the European Pillar of Social Rights Action Plan, the launch of the first ever EU anti-poverty strategy, also the announcement of the affordable housing plan. So it's a very interesting moment actually to have this discussion. And of course, in terms of the next MFF, how the MFF will follow. The way, I mean, it's a very comprehensive question, so you have the time to bring your perspectives. So who would like to start? Katarina, please.
Thanks a lot. My name was mentioned too many times today.
A lot of pressure on you.
Yeah. So do you hear me? Is it working? Yeah. Okay. Good. So first of all, thanks a lot. Thank you for organizing this important event. I consider it almost a part of our consultations. Also, although the official consultations on the anti-poverty strategy haven't started yet, but they will soon. But it's very important, very timely that you are presenting this report for us for several reasons. One of the reasons is that this is the year in which we will present the report on the implementation of 2023 minimum income recommendation. Many of you have mentioned the recommendation today. Pietro summarized it nicely, the key elements. For us, it was, and the report is will be done together with the Social Protection Committee. So it's Commission, but also member states, all the member states that will contribute. It was very important to reflect on all the different aspects regarding the implementation of the recommendation. So without not going, it would be impossible without really going in deep dive on activities in the area of minimum income. What I have to say, what struck me the most in your report, but also in the Czech presentation, is really the question of what is really happening with the reforms. In your report, you say that only 25% of member states have undertaken some kind of reforms till, well, starting from 2023. The recommendation does not have a milestone like where reforms should take place. It has the final end, which is 2030. So by 2030, the level of the benefits should be adjusted to at least 60% of what you took as the poverty threshold. This is only one component of this very complex indicator by which we measure poverty, which also has two other components. But what was very important for us is to see how benefits work together with the access to services and also access to employment. These are, I would dare to say, three crucial elements that we see. So towards the end of year, our report will be presented. We will actually present it in the joint event that we are organizing with Bocconi University and also Caritas and also people who are experiencing poverty, but we will be organizing a lot of consultations, so no worries. All the target groups will be covered somehow for the anti-poverty strategy. So when we speak about minimum income, we have to see it in the light of the anti-poverty strategy. How are we going to address it in the anti-poverty strategy? Everything is on the table, I would dare to say. I think my colleagues, not my colleagues actually, because they are MEPs, so the MEPs will speak a lot. What do they expect? I think it's great that, and I presume that you will be very talkative about what you would like to see in the anti-poverty strategy. I can tell you that we are reflecting on few elements which are key for us. One is how to put a person in the center of actions, because poverty is very individual. It happens to someone by different circumstances of life. The other is to see a person in certain periods of their life when they fell into poverty, and try to address those exact moments and try to prevent them from falling into poverty, which is easier said than done, I have to say. And the third is to reflect on really so many faces of poverty that we see today. And we see it in the light of the child poverty, digital, energy, transport, name it. And there are so many initiatives throughout our different policy fields, going beyond social policy, that we want to bring in, and we want all of these actions to work for a person who is experiencing poverty. So this is, maybe it will sound philosophical to some of you. I hope that through the next 9 months, we will be growing together into the idea what concretely needs to be done. We took a super good notes of the wishes. I would take it as a proposals and the ideas, and we will shape it together in order to get to the meaningful I hate the word meaningful, but in this case, it's super important to have a meaningful strategy of addressing poverty in Europe. This is, as you know, the first time that we will have such a strategy. Maybe we will not have a second shot, God knows, but that's why it is important that the first one is done extremely well. So I'm putting also lots of burden on my colleagues and my shoulders as well, but this is how we feel, and this is also how we see the future work.
Thank you very much, Katerina. I think for Caritas, it sounds like music to our ears to hear that you want to put people at the center and humans at the center. Okay, well, let's maybe get some reactions from MEPs. Maybe I will give the floor to Katrin Ragensiepen as the Vice Chair of the Committee on Social Affairs.
Yes, thank you for giving me the floor. I think here we don't have to convince each other how important it is to fight against poverty. It is a glue for a society, and unfortunately we have the narrative now, or the vocal roadmap is competitiveness and defense. And that is what walks through all committees and plenary, and it makes me really sick and tired, because if you are in a society, aging society, when we have still consequences of COVID, mental health is a topic, so then we are not competitive. So when we are not taking care of our people, human beings in the European Union, and what kind of priorities or who should be a priority. Situation of women is always difficult, single mothers, and I think when we start with how is the situation of women, then you have elder women, you have women from the queer community, you have disabled women and girls, and so from my perspective, let's have an eye on situation of women. The attack against us is massive. When I'm in the FAM committee, the voices are very aggressive from we don't need that anymore, the gender craziness, blah. And that is what worries me, that it has no, it's not relevant anymore people are always guilty when they are on a street. That is a narrative or the opinion of. So even if you have a job, you are a doctor, you can live on the street and nobody knows. Poverty is not visible. You can walk around in a super chicky-micky dress and you buy only one slice of bread, and then you see how full your threshold is, and then you see, are you poor or not? There is in your report who's applying for benefits and so on. We still have a generation of I don't ask for money, I don't ask for help. When it comes to funds and money, no, I would rather die before I ask for help. That it's still, and even in Germany we have when it comes to benefits, social benefits, we do have it, but the idea is it's your own fault. They want to spend it in alcohol, and let's invest in education, in a system, and not in money. I think we need both. I need a child guarantee. Fighting against poverty means money to the people, and of course investment into infrastructure. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Katrina. And thank you for raising the competitiveness and defense, which I think all organizations working on the field of social policies are very worried about as well. I would like to give the floor maybe to MEP Mendia.
Thank you, and thank you first of all for organizing this event and to giving us the chance to this exchange of views with your organization and with the public. I think that is going to be the most interesting part. I will stick to the subject of today, no? I mean, the minimum income systems in Europe, because I like a lot what Katerina says about the strategy, anti-poverty strategy, and we will have many time to work together and to make with thoughts. So relating with minimum income, I think that and continuing with the people, I mean the person in the center of the policies, I think this is the point. And I would say that this is to be more competitive, as in another way, of course, because I mean, if we invest in persons, we are investing in the society and in the competitiveness of our economy. Because nowadays everybody is talking about talent, and when you hear the word talent, we always think in scientists or mathematics or something very important. But for me, in my opinion, all the talents are needed to build a society, and everybody has to have the right to have a place in the society and also in the employment, because I think that when you are facing the minimum income, I think that it has to be a right, and if you fulfill the conditions, I mean, you have to get it. On the one hand, I hear before that one of the main problems is the non-take-up of one part of the society, and I think that this has to be a challenge for the governments, for the institutions, and it has to be an invitation to keep on working with the civil society and with the NGOs to get to those people that still are out of scope of the minimum incomes. But also, even if it's a lot of people is very far away from the labor market, they have the right to be properly attended, and they have the right to have job offers. And in that sense, I think that I have experience in my home country about this. We need to build personal itineraries for the people to give them a chance to end up in the labor market. And in your paper, you mentioned the social economy, and the social economy is really important, and it has been a great job giving opportunities with people, not only with people with disabilities to have a proper job, but also people in risk of exclusion to give an opportunity of a job and a training, and therefore get able to go to the official labor market. So that on one hand. And on the other hand, in these personal itineraries, I think that we have to see the person in the center and all the problems that could have that person all around. So we have to change the way that we work. We have to work more in collaboration, in a more intersectional way, because you have the need of a house, you have perhaps a health problem, you have education, you have employment services. So I think that to get the inclusion of the people and to give them really the opportunity as plain, I don't know how to say in English, but as a civil, I mean, the rights that you have as a citizen, thank you, you need to have to receive all this, no? So I think that this should be one of the points that that framework, because I defend, as you defend, a European framework for a social, I mean, for a minimum income. I think that is necessary to build it and to have it just to improve the situation all over Europe for all the citizens. And with this, I end. I think that everybody could have a very bad moment in their life. It's not a question only of poverty, because life could change a lot, and nowadays we are like in a mountain, no? One up the hill, and after a couple of years, in a year, you are down in the valley. So we need like a security net for everybody, and we have to be able, I hope that we will be able to set the basis of a European framework for a minimum income. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and we really welcome also support in our recommendation on having a framework directive on minimum income. And also I pick the point that you raised on the social economy, and it's something that is also very, very important for Caritas. I would like to give the floor to MEP João Oliveira, please.
Thank you very much. I would like to start by thanking Caritas Europa for the invitation and thanking for the wonderful work you have done concerning the adequate minimum income. There are a lot of issues we need to address when we discuss the issues on poverty, but I believe there's a small question, which is the elephant in the room, concerning the adequate minimum income, which I would like to address first of all, which is the question: are we going to have an initiative from the European Commission that allows us to address this need to overcome all these difficulties we have been that have been shown in the previous presentations? As far as the European Parliament rapporteur on the anti-poverty strategy is concerned, we will, because we will present the draft report with a recommendation for an initiative from the European Commission, in which we need. It's not this way. It will be written, but I will summarize it this way, because we need to find a way to converge in social progress. We need to find a way to make every country inside the European Union converge in social progress and not diverge, as we have been seeing here today with the national reforms that have been done in the latest years concerning the adequate minimum income. I believe that brings us to some important questions. How do we consider poverty? Can we consider it as a violation of human rights? And if we consider it as a human rights violation, how do we want to address it? Just to make it some kind of a lesser violation? Or do we face the goal? Do we establish the goal of eradicating poverty? I believe the second answer is the right one. I believe as far as we consider poverty as a human rights violation, we need to establish the goal to eradicate it. And to eradicate it, it means that we need to put anti-poverty strategy and anti-poverty policies as one of the European Union's priority, which is far from being that. Katrina and I already mentioned it. We had in the last months dozens of plenary debates concerning competitiveness, considering security and defense, considering budgetary options towards militarism, but any substantial political option considering the need to address social issues, such serious issues as poverty. And when we are talking about the first European Union anti-poverty strategy, I agree with Katrina. We need to address it correctly on the first hand. And we need to do that going to the deepest roots of poverty, going to the roots of unequal and unfair wealth distribution. And that demands a comprehensive approach in which the access to a job, the access to a fair and dignified wage and working conditions, the fight against discriminations and inequalities, but also the fair distribution of wealth toward social benefits need to be all taken into account. This is a very hard task, at least I believe thinking about it from the European Parliament demands as the rapporteur. I believe it's a very difficult task, very demanding task, but if we want to keep hearing what we hear every day about the superiority of the European social model, we need to invest it in order to be a credible statement, in order that people recognize these words, European social model. This demands addressing these social issues, such serious issues as poverty, and especially with such an important instrument as adequate minimum income. I understood this study from this report from Caritas Europa includes Portugal, my country, my own country. In Portugal, we have been having this discussion on adequate minimum income for decades, and after decades of discussion, we managed to implement it. It has been ups and downs in this path, but I believe the impact on fighting poverty, not only addressing poverty in order to overcome poverty wherever there is poverty, but also preventing poverty. I believe the impact of adequate minimum income it's unquestionable, and I believe no one questions it. The big political problem we have, and with this I conclude, is that we still face the pressure from some kind of political approach that explains poverty to poor as the responsibility from other poor. If someone is unemployed, he's poor because he's unemployed. Migrants are to blame for it. If someone doesn't have a house, it's because Roma people or somebody else gets the social housing. So there's a political speech that explains poverty to poor people as responsibility from other poor people, and we need to face poverty also with the aim of breaking this political speech, because this is breaking our societies. this is breaking solidarity chains and relations, which we need to overcome poverty with a more fair society, more equal society. Concerning the MFF, I'm also at the Budget Commission. So all the difficulties I mentioned before about the global priorities on the European Union political guidelines, we face it also at the Budget Committee. We have had the European Parliament report on the next MFF approved the session before that, in which social issues as poverty didn't manage to get the priority level which they need to have in the political guidelines. But I believe that's not a political issue in which we must take the defeat. We need to keep on struggling in order to place poverty, anti-poverty policies and strategy in the place where they need to be as one of the first priorities of the European Union.
Thank you very much, MP Oliveira. You say many interesting things. I pick the importance of convergence, which I think was pretty much reflected in our reports, and also having poverty really as the goal in itself. And something very interesting that you said too is about the roots of the reasons why there is poverty, the root causes of poverty. I would like to take this little space to also invite all present to have a look at a report that Caritas Europa published at the end of last year on a just economy. There are some copies, I think, at the table at the exit. So I encourage you to go and read it, because it really talks about that, about the root causes of poverty and what is a just economy that works for people. So I would like now to give the floor to Reka, who will give us her perspective on the report, but also maybe a reaction to what you just heard from the different honorable MEPs and from the European Commission. Please, the floor is yours, Reka.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm Reka Tuyungi from Social Platform. And the Social Platform is a network of networks of social organizations. So we are promoting a more social Europe, and Caritas Europa is one of our members, and we're very happy to be here and to support the work that you do, which is very, very important. And I would like to start by saying that Social Platform ran a campaign ahead of the European Parliament elections in 2024 on this topic, so over the poverty line. And we are very pleased to have gathered over 350 signatures from candidates who were running for the elections, 80 of whom have been elected. And I would like to thank my fellow panelists for their support in that. So this is a topic very close to the heart of Social Platform. And in this campaign, we were campaigning for a directive on minimum income, alongside what we heard today, that we're pleased to have a council recommendation, but it is not enough. And indeed, we need legally binding measures to have proper implementation. And also, to answer one of the first questions, what was most striking for me from the report was the level of adequacy, that not even one member state has a level of minimum income scheme that lifts people above the poverty line. I think that says a lot about the state of play in Europe today and how much more should be done. And the way we see it is indeed the new action plan on the pillar of social rights coming up from the Commission this year, and the anti-poverty strategy will be crucial to address this. Also, Katarina mentioned there's a report coming from the Commission and the Social Protection Committee this year on the state of play of implementation of the recommendation. We also hope that this will suggest a more legally binding measure, and we look also towards the indicators work of the SPC, whether the issues raised around indicators by the presenters earlier today could also be addressed, about having more timely data on the people affected. We also have a policy position on the anti-poverty strategy, so I would like to reflect a bit on what I've heard so far. And Katarina mentioned that the Commission is planning to look at several dimensions, income as well as access to services, to prevent and tackle poverty, which we agree is very important. I would like to add one component, though, in addition to so access to adequate income through social protection systems as well as through quality employment. That would be first dimension. Access to quality services, affordable, high quality services for all, which is very important to go together with the financial support. And the third component is the empowerment and the engagement of the people affected. So to make sure that the decision-making process involves people affected by poverty. It is very important for democratic legitimacy, as well as for the ensuring that the right measures are being implemented. And this is something we're actually calling for to happen not just at European level, but also at national and subnational levels. So ideally, the European anti-poverty strategy is ambitious and structured and comprehensive enough to encourage member states and regions, where that's appropriate, to follow suit and design such strategies, set ambitious targets, and to foresee EU financing supporting these national plans. And I think that's why it's very important that this proposal is coming at a time when the EU budget is being negotiated, because it's an opportunity to put in references to tackling poverty in the EU budget, for instance, in the European Social Fund, the successor of that. So within cohesion policy as well as other instruments, because the EU policy guidance will be coming at the same time. So actually a suggestion to my fellow panelists would be to make sure there's a link in the policy guidance to the funding, and in the funding piece to the policy guidance, to make sure that this is an ambitious proposal and can be implemented at national and subnational level. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Reka. So yeah, you also mentioned very good points about the importance of quality services, quality jobs, and the policy guidance that is going hand in hand as well with the budgetary aspects. I know we are running late, but I would really like to give the floor for questions. Is it okay to stay for a few minutes more? Because I think it will be important to hear from our audience after having so many inputs. So I would like to open the floor for questions. Anybody would like to? Okay, we have two hands. Valentina? Yeah, there's a microphone coming. Yeah, it's because we are streaming the event, so that's why it's important to speak on the microphone.
Hello everyone, I'm Valentina Caiumi, an independent consultant. I used to work for Caritas in Italy for social platform. I work also for the Greens at the European Parliament, so I feel very much at home. I subscribe to everything that has been said, and I would like to ask you what you think about including in the next anti-poverty strategy, and also maybe in the new action plan for the European Pillar of Social Rights, a key action to organize really a communication campaign about poverty, about the recipients of minimum income, because many of you mentioned that we really need to change the narrative. Still too many people and politicians consider that poverty is really the fault of the person, no? While there are so many factors that really, many people can fall into poverty for many different reasons, no? And we really need to change the narrative. We really need to educate with real stories and positive stories, because I think also what Reka said, that it is really important to empower the people living in poverty on how to get out of it. This would have a maybe a good, let's say, influence on many politicians, because I'm a bit disappointed to see that there is no one from the EPP, no one from Renew Europe. while we are not going to improve the competitiveness of Europe with more poverty. Yeah, it should be a business of everyone, really, independently of the political group.
Thank you, Valentina. Who would like to react? Or if there's any reaction? Okay, yes, let's do that. It will be more efficient. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Sara Morato. I'm a journalist for Agencia F. Maybe this question is not exactly for MEPs, but maybe from the Caritas section. My question is regarding to your document, because there it says specifically in the country-specific recommendations about the Spain. You said that you recommend Spain that to improve eligibility, implementation and geographic coherence, and consider income from only the previous 3 months and not from the previous year. I would like to know if you could please briefly talk about the situation of Spain and why do you suggest these recommendations. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I will suggest maybe to give the floor to Ana Abril from Caritas Española, who might be in a better position to answer to your question. Well, this is a dialogue. It doesn't have to be a question directly to the panel.
Thank you. Thank you to Caritas Europa and to the panel. Thank you for sharing with us all the ideas you have put on the table. In minimum income in Spain, the general rule is that to have all the data interconnected, they take the administration take the data of the previous year, the economic data. So the amount of minimum income is calculated with this data. And as we all know, when you are in a vulnerable situation, your situation changes a lot. So in the regions that like in Austria, we have 17 different regional laws regarding minimum income. In some of them, the data provided in order to calculate the minimum income of the people were the ones of the 3 months before. No? That is next to the reality of the person to his current situation. That is the general rule. It's a possibility that you can ask the Social Security, that is the one in charge of minimum income in Spain, to have the data till 1st of April, but that is the exception. A lot of people, they even don't know, so they don't apply for that. And that implies that sometimes people receive some money that after is not linked to their current situation, so or if they not fulfill the human rights and to live with the dignity they should, or the opposite. If the last year you haven't had an employment, a job, but this year you have, but you receive the minimum income because the data are the ones of the year before, after you are going to have to return this money to the Social Security. You have a debt with the Social Security. So in our opinion of Caritas Spain, that is a huge problem.
Thank you. And I would like to give the floor to MEP Mendia.
I'm going to do a mix between the question from the journalist of EFE and your question also, because I think that both are related, because we are talking about the rights. And what the Spanish government did with the minimum income is to build it in the social security system to understand, to make understand to the Spanish society that it was a citizen right, okay? But that it was a good idea, and it is a good idea from the principal's point of view. When you go to the to run it in a practical way in the real life, is very difficult, as she explained perfectly, because the life of the people in difficulties change a lot, even in the same month. You came from Austria, I came from Spain, and from a region that we have a minimum income since the last 40 years. So we have, in my region, we have to live with the two different systems, the Spanish system and the Basque system. And we have to combine them. For example, in our system, we review your situation each 3 months. We inspire in the French system because, I mean, in France, they have something like this. So, and it's working. And even with the 3 months, if something happens in your life, you can apply to the administration, to the regional administration, and say, look, my personal situation, my economical situation have changed, so you have to change, because otherwise you are generating a debt with the administration, so you are entering in a worse situation. So yeah, I mean, it's a complex system, but still, I mean, we have to think in a positive way, because we build a citizen right for everybody that fulfills the conditions, and we are learning and improving it. I mean, and in the government, they are aware that they have to keep on going in improvement, because this is a constant learning. I mean, I came from a region, as I told you, that we start with it in the mid-80s, and we changed a lot with the system, because we are learning every day from the people. So we have to improve it in the way we give it to get quick to the situation of the people. We inspire in the Bolkestein directive. So you ask today, and in a month you receive the minimum income. So, I mean, the question is that we should have an European framework, as I probably think that all of us agree on that, and have like a certain security all over Europe in all the countries, like a minimum similar way of having a minimum income. And thank you.
Thank you very much. I think Katerina wanted to react maybe to the first question or not. No, I'm.
I would have to run.
Okay.
That's the problem. So I can maybe react now, because I was supposed to be at 3 in a meeting.
I'm very sorry. Thank you.
My colleagues are looking at me like very nervous. But okay, I just really want to on Valentina's proposal. I think it's a really great, and it's also something that is quite needed. Let's see which form and how that could be done. We had maybe some of you will remember, we had last year, we've been running a campaign together for our rights, about European Pillar of Social Right, where we had the elements on the poverty quite strong, and it was a really good campaign, super good impact, and my colleagues could share a lot with you. It's important, but it's also important to put it in the context. It's not about strategy, it's about showing what Europe would bring on the table and what Europe will bring for the persons living or experiencing poverty. And also it's quite important in another context, which is this really big gaps in a take-up and a huge non-take-up. We have been addressing this issue since ages and since years, and some of you might recall during the French presidency, we had a big event about non-take-up and how and why is non-take-up happening. So in that light, some kind of really information sharing for sure will help. But this event today showed everything that we also have been saying about huge role that national systems play. We always said that the differences are between the countries, but also the huge differences are within the countries. You, Idoia, you know very well in Spain with eligibility period, which differs in the different parts of the Spain, and the different structures and requirements that we have been also reflecting for many years. We see it also in the other countries. The Austrian example is really so, I would not say beautifully showing the differences, but indeed putting the finger exactly where the problems are. Would this be resolved with a framework directive? I don't know. Maybe it could, but I would like to encourage you to be even more creative, because for years the focus has been the framework directive on minimum income. But let's think what else could be done. Which elements, and think about the legal base when you think about it. So I'm also provoking you a bit, because we will be consulting a lot in the next couple of months. In the next couple of months. So think where and how the legal base would allow us to go in which direction. What are the urgent needs? Would it be possible to do something about really reducing the burden on everyone, so that person who is, for whatever reason, has fallen into poverty, that they have to go to this service to register, to that service for the child benefits, to that service for the housing benefits, to the other service, to the county level, to the city level, to the village level, to whatever else. Let's try to imagine the world in which the system would work for the person. So, and then give it a face of an initiative. So I'm not revealing anything like what are we planning, but I'm revealing what we are thinking, where the problems really are, and what should be thought. And sometimes really focusing, we only need this and that, usually doesn't solve a problem. So it's really the whole set that needs to work together. Another thing that I wanted to also put on the table is the time frame. Fighting poverty seems like a really noble objective, but let's look at the facts and figures. So 94.3 million people living at risk of poverty and social exclusion. In 2021, we put the objective by 2030 to lift at least 15 million people, or to have 15 million people less in poverty, including 5 million children. Till the beginning of 25, do you know what is what are the figures that how many people have been lifted out of the poverty? Around 3.1, 3.2 million. So until 2030, we still have almost 12 million to go. So when speaking about being ambitious, let's try to be super realistic, hyper realistic, and let's try to think what would help. And the falling into poverty goes within individual. It's a cyclical also approach. People get lifted out of the poverty, then they fall in, then they depending on the life cycle and the different age that they are in. What would really be beneficial is to prevent persons from falling into poverty, and also to have the safety nets at the different levels and the different stages that would keep them above the threshold. So this is something. And why am I putting the time frame? Because I'm sure that in the next couple of months we will have lots of those who will say you need to have a strategy till 2030. Would anything change until 2030? Would anything like meaningful be implemented? Would anything that would have impact and show impact? I think we need a longer time frame. We need a system, and we need a revision. We need a super good monitoring. We need a super good data. We need to factor in all the governance elements at EU level, but also at the national levels, because that's what is important. Poverty, we can propose the best policies at the EU level, but if not implemented at the national, local and regional level, then it simply will not work. So whatever we do in the context of the anti-poverty strategy, we'll have to have this two-folded approach. One is what are we going to do at the EU level, but the second strand, which is even more important, I would dare to say, is what you will do in your countries and what the member states are going to do. And one more thing that I also like to mention, and then I will really close my expose, is I try to embrace competitiveness as an opportunity. It also made us, my colleagues and myself, to rethink the way we present the poverty. We will, for example, with Bocconi, discuss the costs of non-doing something, which will be more telling than putting forward many facts and figures. It also requires from us, who are not economics, but just the lawyers, to also think in a different manner. And also I'm encouraging all of you, if you are not economics and not very, very eager to speak in economic figures, but it is quite important. And I think we have a story to tell. And I think we have facts and figures that are so telling that we will not be, it would not be able for anyone to forget about us.
Thank you very much, Caterina. And Joao, yes, okay. Yes, no worries. I would like to thank you very much, all of you, and I'll give you the floor. Yes, I will just leave the...
Very quickly, okay. Just to say this. The communication campaign that was suggested underlines the need to fight stigmatization of poverty and people experiencing poverty. And stigmatization of poverty comes many times from the idea of a special treatment, a special regime. When we are addressing poverty as a violation of human rights, political, economical, social, and cultural rights, the way to address it, the best way to address it is to ensure the universal character of human rights, ensuring that everybody has their rights granted. In Portugal, some 1 or 2 years ago, this lady that was interviewed in the street by the Portuguese television about the rising cost of living was saying that what concerned her, it's that she can no longer afford to buy a book. This is also a violation of human rights at the cultural level, because if people get in need for something else because they need to address all the other needs, their rights are not being granted. Having this comprehensive approach in order to ensure the universal character of the human rights, it needs to be the ground basis of the policies to address fighting poverty and eradicating poverty. And I believe we need to overcome the stigmatization of poverty, stating the universal character of these rights, the universal nature of these rights, and that's the goal we need we are pursuing.
Thank you very much. I would like you to ask you for an applause for our panelists. Thank you so much for being here and for all the time that you gave us, because we know we exceeded a little bit what was foreseen. Thank you very much. And now we are going to slowly close this event. Oops. Okay, we would like to thank you very much for your participation, for your inputs, and yeah, good afternoon to everyone. Seems that it closed very much.